It is Monday, October 26th, and this is your Hope Update. I want to start with Psalm 20. It says, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God." Now, it is the week leading up to elections, and I know that's a big deal. But the most concerning divide that we have in our country, especially within our churches right now, is not Republican or Democrat. It's actually a different divide. It's those who trust in government as their ultimate source of hope, of trust, confidence, and those who do what the Psalm says, who trust in the name of the Lord our God. Now, a little bit of history on this. Throughout the ancient world, there was no real separation between church and state. Those things were intermingled. Of course, in the Old Testament, Israel, the king was to be a faithful king. He was to serve God's laws. Then in the New Testament world, you might know this, that most of the Caesars, the leaders of the Roman Empire, they set themselves up to be gods. They actually were worshipped as gods. Now, that might sound like a kind of an ego trip thing, but if you think about it, for the people living in those times, the Caesars did more for them, stuff that gods would be expected to do, than the worthless idols that they worshipped. So to go from worshiping idols or empty gods to worshiping a Caesar, that made sense because the Caesars actually provided military protection. They provided for people. Roman citizenship was kind of like, man, that was having like a gold card. That was like a passport to the world. You could do a lot if you were a Roman citizen. So in a way, it sounds egotistical, but in another way, the Caesars actually did more for people than what most of their gods did for them. So to say Caesar is Lord or Caesar is God, it made sense to people in the ancient world. The Caesars did a whole lot, the very things that gods should be doing for you. But New Testament Christians, they had this early creed, and it got them into a lot of trouble. You see this in the book of Acts. It was a direct challenge to the authority of the Caesar, not in a political realm, but in an ultimate sense, because the early Christians said, not Caesar is Lord, but they substituted the word Jesus for Caesar. And they said, Jesus is Lord. And you've probably read that in the scriptures, and you've never thought of it before in any way other than just like a nice churchy thing to say or a faith testimony. But that was actually a challenge to the authority of Caesar on ultimate things. In a way, saying Jesus is Lord is a politically subversive statement. And it was certainly seen as such. Christians fell under persecution, not just from Jewish people who didn't like their faith, but from the Romans as well. You probably know that if you know anything about history. Not only that, Jesus himself, if you remember this, what actually put him on a cross was a crime of treason, that he was speaking against the Roman Empire by saying that he was a king. That's what he was executed for. Jesus is Lord. Again, it is a creedal statement, but it's actually a deeply political statement for those of us who truly follow Jesus, who trust in Jesus. And I think today, more than ever, we need to, as people of faith, we need to reclaim this creed as our creed. We need to make this our campaign slogan. It's important that we're active citizens in the world, yes, but more important is that we hold on to this truth that Jesus is Lord, that we make this everything for us. See, right now there are some people for whom these elections are really high stakes. For a lot of people, it seems like everything hangs in the balance because for them, their government is what provides their safety, their protection, their meaning, citizenship, maybe even puts food on the table or creates an environment where that can happen. For a lot of people, government does, go back to ancient Caesar, government does all the things that people used to look to gods in order to do for them. So for some people, these elections are incredibly high stakes. And then for some of us, these elections actually mean very little. I mean, yeah, they matter, and of course we care about our country, and yeah, it makes a difference in our quality of life here or there, but there are some of us for whom, man, these elections, they don't really mean much at all because we say Jesus is Lord. And that means that we believe not only is he the Son of God, not only is he in control of everything, but that means that we also believe that he is our king. He's the one we pledge our allegiance to. And it means that no matter who is in Washington, we worship a king who sits on a throne that will last forever. See, we need to reclaim this truth as Christians, that Jesus is Lord, this subversive political statement in the face of a very uncertain political world, as a reminder that we are heirs, we are citizens of a kingdom that will never pass away, that we belong to Jesus. And he is our king. Not only is he our king, but he's our God. So I want you to just do a quick heart check on yourself right now, and probably several times this week. And if you start to feel yourself getting a little bit terrified and anxious about what's going on in our world, maybe just say to yourself, Jesus is Lord. And remember, that's not just a faith statement about Jesus is the one who's going to take you to heaven someday. That's also true. But claim it like those early Christians claimed it, as a statement of, hey, we know who our protection comes from. We know who provides for us. We know who gives us identity. We know where our citizenship is. We know who is ultimately powerful. Let that be a faith statement, but also let that be a reminder to you of your deeper politics as a person of faith, that hey, whoever sits in Washington, Jesus is ultimately the Lord. He is the king, and he is the greatest king that ever lived. His kingdom will know no end. So again, I want to read you this from Psalm 20. Just hear these words again. Some trust in chariots, and some trust in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. I pray that God, by his Spirit, can make that true of you. And every time you feel terrified, maybe repeat that psalm to yourself, say, Jesus is Lord. And remember, our King, man, he's the greatest, and he will stand forever. Nothing will thwart his plans. Just a reminder for you too, today, actually, a bunch of us begin, and I'd love for you to join us in beginning a 21-day social media detox. There was just a recent Wall Street Journal article that came out about how social media is dividing us. And even when you try to read other people's perspectives, you often end up reading way too far. It creates all kinds of division and tension. And so we're saying, hey, what if right now in this critical moment in history, we back away from social media, we don't let it do to us all the negative things that it does, and instead we give our attention to being in prayer, being in the Word, being present with the people around us. Man, that might make a big difference in the world. So I'm off social media. This is not a tech detox, but a social media detox. I'm off it for the next 21 days. You can read more on our website, pathfinderstl.org/detox. If you want to sign the pledge and join us too. But we'll still be sending these to you via YouTube and email, just like we are now. But we're staying off of the Facebook and the Instagrams and the Twitters of the world. I sound like an old guy when I say that, the Facebook, right? You get what I'm saying. We'd love for you to join us and really to focus our attention on the greater things, the things of God. Jesus is Lord. Some trust in horses and chariots. We trust in Jesus, our King. Amen.